It's April 13th, 2016, and we are here to discuss the former Brookline Speedway. I'm here with Del Porter. I present Del Porter.
But you are.
Huh? Oh, and I am Nancy Reinbold.
And I'm Scott Griff.
Okay, my first question, thinking back before the Speedway ever was established, what were the attitudes of the people when the idea came up of the Speedway? How did the people in Brookline feel about it?
General consensus, I think, was probably 60 to 75% of the people were for it. There was like probably 25% of the people that didn't care much for the idea.
Why would they object to it?
One thing was the noise, and there was families that moved out of town even on account of the noise after the racetrack got started. One thing that was held on Sundays was another thing that I think was against a lot of people's ideas, you know.
My name is Betty Hall, and I have lived here most of my life. My grandmother was born in this house, and my mother married and moved to New York City. And I grew up in New York City, but we came up here all the time. And then when I got married, my husband was from New Hampshire, and my grandmother offered to sell us her house, and that's how I got here.
So, do you remember what year that was?
I moved here in 1948, but
wow.
that was right after I was married, and I've lived here ever since.
Now, how many children do you have?
I have 5 children.
5 children. So the people who did not want the racetrack,
They were mostly people who had moved to town to bring up their children in the country and to have and to take advantage of the beauty of the town and the recreation in the town, and they didn't want that kind of recreation in the town. So they were pretty adamant that they didn't want it. So it was the newer people who, in general, objected to the racetrack, and the people who had lived in town a long time thought it was going to be helpful to raise the economic level of the town, and they supported it. So that was my perception of the difference between the people who were for it and were against it. But there were many people who were mixed about it, you know, including me. I had grown up coming up to the town for years when it was a poor little town, and I felt sorry for the people that didn't have enough money to be able to pay their taxes and continue to live in their homes. And so in that sense, I wanted to welcome any business that would raise the economic level of the town. And I did an awful lot of work to raise the economic level, and it was one of the reasons I ran for the legislature. I thought I could be helpful by being in the legislature. So I had that motivation, but at the same time, I had 5 kids, and I wanted them to be able to run free in the community and have a wonderful childhood and freedom and all that sort of thing. And I thought that the racetrack might attract people that would be change the character of the town, and so I didn't want it. And in the end, I didn't want it more than I did want it, so I worked against it. And I lost almost every battle, and then I finally won the war because they got into it, and not enough people came to make it economically feasible for the racetrack. So that was my thinking about why some people were for it and some were against it.
There was, during the afternoon, it ran, but then it also ran at night after they got lights, and that bothered people because it ran until midnight, many nights until the races were finished, and kept kids awake, and people had to work the next day, and noise, and I'll tell you, it was noisy. It was noisy.
Could you be here to this location here on at the top of Steam Mill Hill
Up
Road?
here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It came right up, right up here. Also all along South Main Street, all down that area. I was a spectator. Also, I was a member of the fire department. The fire department at that time ran an ambulance in town. And once or twice I was a driver of the ambulance at the races. Finally, I wouldn't drive anymore because the racetrack, whoever was running the races, I say, I don't know if it was Corey and Fesnan or someone else again, would not hire a doctor. And so I told the fire department that I wouldn't drive the ambulance anymore. And that led to, I think, the end of the ambulance being run by the fire department. It was an old hearse that they had acquired somewhere. And it was just a case of, I don't know if we ever used it to carry anybody to a hospital or anything, you know, from the racetrack. I don't know if they ever did. But I just wouldn't drive it anymore, you know. I didn't want that responsibility also. Later years, they did run jalopy races where you drive the cars on and wreck them, you know. Mm-hmm. And some of the local fellows in town at that time used to enter cars, and I knew some of those fellows that entered the cars in there. They're gone from here now, you know, unless Butch was one of them. I don't remember if Butch ended there, but I can remember.
I think he did race there.
Yeah.
I don't know what he raced. I will find out.
The company that I worked for built the railroad, built the racetrack.
And that was?
Better's Construction Company. We did all the groundwork. We didn't construct like the stands and all, but we did do all of the groundwork and the finished grading of the track before it was asphalted. We didn't asphalt it at that, because we didn't do asphalting at that time. Also, they had no electric power down there, which was called three-phase power, to run the lights at night. And our company, Better's Construction, had a large portable generator. And that's what they ran. They rented the generator from Better's and ran the power for the tracks at night. The generator was put into a truck and went down and hooked it up, you know, and after the races were over, unhooked it and put it away, and then it was taken down there the next night, and or whenever they wanted to use it, and hooked it up again. They had the regular 110 volt power and all, but they didn't have the large three-phase power for running the big floodlights.
Yep.